Meirowitz, who is a professor at the SUNY Maritime College in New York State, and he joins me there from there. Now, Mark, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. What more can you tell us about how this exchange was conducted, the terms and the conditions, because it seems to have been a fairly swift and perhaps unexpected resolution?
Look, this has been discussed for the last many months to try to do a 2-for-1 exchange, Paul Whelan and Brittney Griner, for this arms dealer, Viktor Bout. But in a shameful conclusion and a very dangerous conclusion to this issue, and by the way, I'm absolutely delighted that Brittney Griner was released, the United States lost its prestige in the world by making a deal and leaving Paul Whelan behind. In fact, Whelan spoke to CNN from a penal colony in Russia. You did quote before that his brother said it was a catastrophe, but he said himself, why was it that he's still sitting here and why wasn't more done for his release? He's a former Marine. And I don't think Americans will be very happy about the fact about leaving a Marine behind, even though getting Brittney out is a great thing. But this is a real hit on the prestige of the United States. And also the exchange of a basketball player for a major arms dealer who supported terrorists and, as you pointed out, target Americans, especially when Russia needs arms for its attacks on Ukraine, is kind of a crazy situation. It shows again here that United States prestige, and as much as I respect President Biden, I think he really missed the boat on this one. He should have been stronger. This is the United States of America. And also, we don't need the UAE to negotiate for a major superpower. This is the US and Russia. And this also harks back to Ukraine again, because that's what it's really all about. So I think it was really a win for Brittney, and thank God for that, but a shameful conclusion. In fact, Senator Menendez, the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee in the Senate, called it very dangerous. He was very worried about the release of this dangerous arms trafficker.
Well, yes, a victory for Brittney Griner, but it's certainly being presented in Russia and in the Kremlin as a victory for them, given that an arms dealer for a basketball player, it's really quite a high price for the United States to pay.
I mean, this is the United States of America, and Whelan's been sitting there for 4+ years for something he never did. They accuse him of espionage, but you know what? The United States has been swapping so-called espionage with Russians in the height of the Cold War, in the height of Ukraine. Well, we're doing this all the time. So what is so extraordinary about this one is that a basketball player gets arrested for having vaping cannabis containers, right? And then the president of the United States negotiates a deal with Putin to exchange her for one of the major and most dangerous arms dealers in the world. One is just shocked beyond belief that that's the deal that they were able to do after months and months, and finally to leave Paul Whelan, and there are other Americans, by the way, other Americans who have been arrested improperly in Russia, and they're all left behind. You know, Biden wants to get some good publicity on this, but I think Americans in general will be scratching their heads and asking, why would you do a deal with Putin like this? You know, admittedly, they offered her that she is free. That's great. But I don't think he should bask in the limelight about it. He should work right now to get Paul Whelan out of Russia and the other Americans who are detained. Because it's the United States of America, you know, and we should not be leaving a Marine behind. That's just wrong, totally wrong.
And you briefly mentioned that this deal was brokered by the UAE, Saudi Arabia potentially being involved as well. Just tell us a bit more about the context of that and what that tells us about this arrangement.
Well, I mean, to me, it's a lot of public relations. I mean, the context of it is all about Ukraine, I think, and the fact that the United States is supporting Ukraine in its battle against Russian aggression. That is the background and the context of this. All of this is what it's about. And we know that Russia is sourcing drones from Iran. And now, what a coincidence that the major arms trafficker in the world is coming back to Russia, who is connected to Russian intelligence, when Russia needs arms, needs it in order to prosecute an illegitimate and aggressive war against Ukraine. So you got to put all these pieces together. But my bottom line on this is I think it's a failure of our diplomacy. However it was brokered, and there's a lot coming out now in the press in terms of the background of how it's negotiated. But negotiated, I mean, it's Putin and Biden. I mean, that's what it's about. And Biden comes forward here, winning, showing, basking in the limelight with Sherelle, and that was very nicely, beautifully done, a nice opportunity. But Americans will see through that and will be wondering and hoping for the immediate release of Paul Whelan. That's inexcusable. And about swapping, by the way, the Russians apparently wanted to, there was a deal on the table to try to swap some, I guess, a prisoner who was also an intelligence officer, perhaps in Germany, and there are all kinds of these swaps going on. That was a no-go, so they ended up taking the deal and taking out Griner for this Viktor bout. I think that at the end of the day, it's not optimal. She is free, that is great, but I think she has a high-profile person, very, very famous in sports, and that was what Biden wanted to harp on. And he gets that, he gets that because he's a politician. But at the end of the day, the American people will not tolerate having someone detained improperly in Russia who is a former Marine and improperly doing that. This is not the American way. We don't do that. So he gets a plus, Biden, for doing the deal, but he gets tremendous, tremendous pushback, I predict, from, and I've seen it already on Fox News and elsewhere, and actually the man is speaking to CNN, Paul Whelan, he's saying, why am I still sitting here? And that is the question that Americans are asking. Why is Paul Whelan still sitting there? They could have made a 2-for-1 deal. Why can't the President of the United States of America make a deal like that? That shows you something about our president. With all respect to President Biden, the office of the president, I think he really failed on this one. Although
perhaps missed a trick. Perhaps missed a trick there, Mark. And we will take those comments. No doubt that is the question being asked in the United States. And we appreciate you coming on the programme and giving us your thoughts. Mark Meirowitz there from New York State.